I want this demo to really focus on a couple key things. The number one thing is going to be consistency, right? And it's really broken up into two parts: consistency for your end users, but also consistency for your model developers. And I'll walk through how both are done in AtScale, especially as we're moving across not just BI tools, but also agentic AI tool, chatbots as well. And the second part, which will come naturally, is just going to be the speed and performance of the queries that reach AtScale. So the first part is just the general UI, and one of the things I want to talk about is the fact that all your models and semantic objects are backed by Git, right? And the reason for that is we have a user interface where you're going to be able to drag and drop different tables onto your virtual platform here to create a virtual model. But everything is actually backed by code as well, right? And the unique thing to call out is that the AtScale model itself is nothing but references to metrics, which are also nothing but code itself. So you can see here, I have two metrics that are being referenced. One is order quantity. And if I click to my order quantity metric file here, it's going to show exactly what you would expect it to show, which is a name, order quantity, the fact that it's an object type metric, a label, and an aggregation type, which is sum, and you have other available as well, some formatting options in the data set, and the column that is aggregating on, right? This is going to play a pretty important role in terms of the consistency that you're going to get when creating new models, and even more so when you're creating new use cases where perhaps a different team within a different organization might also be utilizing common metrics such as order quantity, or it could even be conformed dimensions that perhaps every single organization in the enterprise should be using, things like date dimension or perhaps customer dimension, right? So that's an important call out here. And as we dive into the model, I'm just going to talk about what the whole purpose of creating the model is. It's for your end users, right? And so as we're creating the model, we have a lot of things here, but it's always important to understand that you can always visualize things the same way that your end users want to see things. So you can be able to see things by the dimensions that you're creating, which are here located under the model properties. So you can see, I've created a few things such as product attributes, because I know that my end user is going to want to understand, perhaps order quantity by products sold. And also, you can also always look at the type of metrics that you've been creating as well, right? So under here, I can see I've created a few things like product metrics and sales metrics that we'll dive into here shortly. With that said, I'm gonna kind of show you this model. So this model is comprised of one fact table. It's going to be our blue object here, fact internet sales, and a bunch of green objects, which are your dimensions, right? And the orange lines here simply represent the relationships between your facts and your dimensions. And creating these relationships is very straightforward. It's simply dragging and dropping. And as you drag, we're naturally going to highlight the correct relationships to make based off of the data type that's available. Another thing you can see here is that while this model looks like a pretty straightforward star schema, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can model in AtScale. And the reason why is everything is virtual. And so if you actually double click into one of my dimensions here, which is customer dimension, you can see that this is actually a model within a model. And this is important because the relationships that create the customer dimension requires domain knowledge, right? That might sit within a certain group, a super group of data engineers, and to be able to create this once and make it available to any user, any group, any use case is extremely powerful, because that's where you get that additional consistency in the semantic layer and obviously for your end users. So I'm now inside my customer dimension. It does look like a traditional dimension, right? You're going to have the ability to see your customer name, first name, last name, and occupation. But also, there's also another model within another model, which is that you have a geo dimension that lives within the customer dimension. Effectively, your customer table is acting as a bridge table. And the geo dimension, it looks like a uniform hierarchy, something that you would expect, such as country, state, city, and geo key. However, what's interesting about it is that it's actually comprised of 4 different tables that have been related to each other to create that uniform view of your hierarchy, right? And I can navigate the tree back to my customer dimension and back to my internet sales dimension. All right, so I've walked through measures and dimensions. I think it's time to quickly look at how this would play out in terms of your end users. All right, so that is the semantic model. And now I want to show you a couple things in terms of what the semantic model would appear like in your BI tools, but more importantly, how you can interact with semantic model in a chatbot that I'm going to show shortly as well. So I'm going to pull up Tableau, and the first thing I think I want to call out is the section on the left hand here, which is you have automatically populated for you in Tableau all the semantics that you created in AtScale, right? And nicely structured by the different folders. And this is going to be the same thing with any tool that you connect to, whether it's Tableau, Excel, Power BI, Looker. You get that same consistency that you can rest assured your end users will see. So today, I'm a new team member as part of the kind of inventory management group, and I want to see what my top selling products are. So I'm just going to come here and say, give me my different products that I've been selling, but more importantly, give it to me by the sales amount, right? And I'm going to need to sort it. And I can see that, my best selling products are my road products, right? And specifically the Red 62. Now, you can get this answer via the traditional method, which is, the clicking and dragging in your BI tool. But realistically, it's going to be way more fun to interact with your chatbot. Primarily because you can ask it any question. And so if I'm a new team member, one of the first things I'm curious about is, what semantic models are available to me, right? And so I have Claude AI pulled up here, and I'm going to connect to my AtScale MCP server. And to do that, I'm just going to click it. I'm going to give it an initial kind of title and just going to say, AtScale model questions. I'm going to add it as a prompt. And I'm just curious to understand what AtScale models are available. And I should be able to get a quick high-level overview of the models I've created. And so you should see a couple models, right? And some models that I haven't talked about in the demo specifically, but you should also see the internet sales model, which is what I've been walking through with you. And let's double click into this internet sales model. So looking at the internet sales model, can you let me know what my best selling products are by sales amount, right? That's what we looked at earlier. Now, one of the things that is happening in the background is it's going to hit the same semantic layer. It's going to have the context of the relationships between your tables and have the exact measure for sales amount because it's been defined in the semantic model, but it's also going to utilize the same acceleration structures that Tableau's been using, right? And so when I show you what's happening in the background in AtScale, you'll see that these queries will hit AtScale as an inbound, but also leverage these aggregations that AtScale is using to answer your questions. And so you can see these are the same top 10 best-selling products by sales amount that we saw earlier. Here in the background, Road 150, 62, Bread 48, and you're getting the same consistent sales amount. And because we're connected to my chatbot, it's actually even easier to dive deeper. So my next logical question is, what was the gross in sales amount for this specific product? It looks like it's giving me a quick clarification on the specific product, and I'm going to let it know. Let's take a look. And you can see it's using the time-based measures available on the model to show us some growth trends, which is excellent. All right, so it's actually giving us specific numbers to show what the actual growth was between 2006 and 2005, and it's giving us the growth rate, which is exactly what we wanted. And it's even giving us some additional insights, which is helpful, not something we specifically asked for, but it's giving us high-level overviews of how 2005 performed and 2006 performed. So as you can see, there's a lot you can unlock with leveraging AtScale with your agentic AI to really power your data analytics use cases at AtScale at your enterprise. Now, jumping back into AtScale, we should see a series of queries that your chatbot utilized. And you can see that the last one was asking questions around product name, order year, and order month. And it did that because it was trying to understand the gross comparisons between the product we asked for and the year-over-year growth amount. Now, what I want to call out is there was an inbound query that our chatbot generated, which hit AtScale. But more importantly, there was an outbound query that leveraged our aggregates. Now, these are the same aggregates that would be leveraged across your enterprise, right? So earlier when I was asking for top sales products in Tableau, it would have utilized a similar set of aggregates. One last thing I want to show now that we've seen how to interact with the chatbot is how you can leverage AtScale to answer even more complex questions like currency conversion. And there is a nuance with currency conversion in the sense that in order to get the right answer back, you want to be able to ask questions and aggregate at the granular level, right? So if you go to my currency conversion metric, you'll see here that I'm doing a cross join across the date dimension, the currency dimension, and also at the sales order line level, right? And I'm doing that and calculating it pre-aggregated at the local currency amount and at the day rate, right? Now this definition has already been deployed, but this time I'm going to show you what that would look like in Excel. So I'm going to pull up my Excel here and show you a new tab. And I'm going to find my converted currency amount. And let's take a look at this by product, which is something we've already been doing. And also by time. Right, and so now you have the ability to look at, not only sales amounts in local currency, which is what we've been doing previously, but you can also query your data at the converted currency level. And that wraps up my demo for today.